So, welcome to day 2 of my art vlog. This is not a vlog where I catalog my artistic journey to become a better artist. Today, I started working with hands, doing studies specifically based off of the work and lessons by David Finch, who's got lessons on the Gnomon Workshop. His dynamic figure drawing lessons are incredibly interesting and very well done. This is probably one of the best techniques I've ever seen for breaking down the hand, the structure of the hand, and really getting it pieced together in a way that is easy to understand, easy to manipulate in 3D space. So these first several drawings are purely me copying what he does throughout the course of those DVDs, uh, at least the first few minutes of them. And eventually I will move on to doing studies from reference here, but it's been a long time since I did any of these, and I'm just trying to kind of get the feeling for it again, get the feeling for the technique and the thought process and what goes into it. At the time when I did these, I was really unhappy with the results. They're super loose no matter what, but I'm not as unhappy looking at them here again as I was at the time. And that's a common theme in my work. It happens to me all the time where I will just get so frustrated in the moment when I'm working on something. I just won't feel like I'm getting it or it's coming out right. And it just, it's so bad. I just get so upset. And I eventually get to the point where I just can't deal with it anymore and I walk away from a piece. But when I come back to it, almost inevitably, whether it's days or hours or occasionally, more often than I'd like to admit, months or years later, I'm always amazed at how much better it is than I thought it was. And it just never was nearly as bad as I thought it was at the time. Which is, I mean, it's a really cool experience because, oh my goodness, look how much better this is than I thought it was. But at the same time, it's really hard because I just kind of sit there and go, if only I hadn't given up. If I hadn't just gotten frustrated and walked away from it, if I'd stuck with it, I might have actually had something really cool to show. And that's an important lesson that I'm still trying to learn. So, for the most part, I'm happier with these than I thought I was, although there's definitely still some issues. This one in particular is super flat, and I need to work on improving that in the future. But that's that. And now we're on to today's artist study, which is a character designed by Nicholas Cole. It's part of his Wing Feather Saga visual development, which you can find on ArtStation. I'll put a link in the comment or in the description. And this character in particular is kind of an alligator, swashbuckler, Scarlet Pimpernel kind of character, very reptilian. The tail in particular makes me think alligator. And once again, it's something I'm focusing on here is just the big shapes, the forms, the proportions. Not really interested in the details yet. Like the last one, I go into details on the face because that's where my primary interest lies at the moment. And this one was a challenge in its own way. It took me a long time to feel like I was getting close on the proportions and the shapes. And even then, I really still don't think I nailed it. It's kind of skewed to one side. The shapes are not, in many cases, as exaggerated as they should be. Um, Looking at it now, I've got the original work up here as I'm recording this, and mine is actually much more narrow than the original. And I was thinking originally that was just in the face, which I can clearly see is far more squat and wide than it is in my study. But it's actually the whole character. The whole character in the original is much more squat and wide than he turned out in my study, and that's something I'm going to have to work on in the future. The face, in particular, though, is a real detriment in that area because the narrowing that I did kind of prevented me from adding in a lot of the features that really sell the character. Don't get me wrong, I'm still fairly pleased with it, and I feel like I learned a lot, particularly in drawing the eyes. Stylized eyes in particular have always been a bit of a challenge for me. I don't know why. You'd think they'd be nice and simple, but they're just something about them that just is difficult for me to get right. And I really felt like I did a decent job on translating this kind of simple but reptilian squint that he's got going on. And ultimately, I'm fairly pleased with the results. I would like to take this and hopefully learn from it in the future and be able to do a better job, but still a decent attempt. So that's it for today, and hopefully within the next few days I'll actually be getting some actual original work done and not just studies. But in the meantime, I will talk to you all tomorrow.